Honestly, I don't even really know how to do a book haul. This is literally so heavy to hold up. I feel like I am literally working out. Hey besties, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing the unthinkable for me, and that is a book haul. I don't think I've done a book haul since like 2018, and that last book haul I'm pretty sure was books from Book Expo that were given to me for free. So this is the first time in a very long time that I'm doing a haul with books that I bought with my own money, because I'm a cheap bitch. I pay for Audible, that's about it. I don't really pay for a lot of other books. I mostly use the library and I use Scribd, and you guys are very generous, so a lot of you have used my code on Scribd, so I pretty much have a free Scribd account until I'm literally 40. So that's actually not an exaggeration, like literally I have Scribd free until I'm 40. I have this affliction where I refuse to buy books that I have never read before because I'm such a picky bitch and I don't like a lot of things, and I can't imagine spending between like $10 and $25 on something and then disliking it. I literally have the kind of buyer's remorse that if I get a lunch that I end up not liking, I will think about it for like a week. So I've always been not really into having a huge book collection. Like from the very start of my channel, if you have been watching me since like 2015, you would know that I've never really been someone with like the Billy bookcases or kind of like a huge book setup. Like I think in like between like 2016 to I think 2019, I had like one little bookshelf that was my videos, and then in recent years I didn't have any bookshelves and you barely ever saw books in my videos. But I have moved into a new place. I've been talking about my move for like every single video, so if you've been watching me, you're probably like, we get it, Sarah, you moved, I saw the moving vlog, shut up. I got some bookshelves and they're pretty empty. These are all books that I already owned. I will not be able to fill these two bookshelves right away, but you can see the dilemma here. I want to fill these bookshelves. I want to have like robust, beautiful shelves. Like I don't know if it is the consumerism of BookTube that did it to me, but I suddenly just decided that I did want to have a book collection, like because I've never really been someone who did that before, but I've kind of like become a little bit more of a collector in some ways. Like I really like having things that just make me happy, and I am more of an audiobook bitch than a physical reading book bitch. Oh my god, I tried to say book and bitch at the same time, I don't know why. So I don't really need the physical books necessarily to read them physically. This is more to like represent books that I like. So my general rule is that I probably won't be buying books that I haven't read unless it's like an auto by author like Libba Bray or Cassandra Clare or something. But other than that, I probably only will be like, if I really love a book, like a 4 or 5 star book, then I'll purchase it. I just think that for me, that is a better way to have a collection, so that way when I look at my shelves, I'm just like in love with what I'm seeing. I bought a lot of books recently. I knew I was buying these shelves and I was like, oh my god, what am I gonna fill them with? I like need books for videos. I kind of went on a rampage and I think I bought like 30 books. But let's just get into the haul, because I've honestly been rambling for far too long and you don't really care. You just want to see me haul books. But what I do like about this haul is that because I've read all of these books, I can actually speak to like what they're about and what I like about them. Okay, so for these first books I'm gonna share with you, I'm actually a liar. I feel like I just went on this whole tangent about how I've read all these books that I bought, but I actually haven't read any of these. Well, actually, I think I've read In an Absent Dream. These are installations of the Wayward Children series, which is a series of novellas about children who find special doors and go to like fantasy lands that are like perfect for them. So I have read In an Absent Dream, and this one is about a girl who goes to this world where there's like a goblin market, and there is like these really strict rules of like how you exchange goods and like how you act, and like everything you do has like a certain like consequence to it. But I haven't read Come Tumbling Down or Across the Green Grass Fields. I don't know what these are about. So I'm literally a liar when I was saying that I could tell you what these are about. This one I know is a horse girl one. That's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of people not like this. And I think there might be another book either after these or that I'm missing. Like I think I'm missing something in the series. I'm gonna be upfront. I didn't really do a lot of research before I started this haul, so I don't know what numbers in the series this is. I think this is number 4. And then I think these are like 5 and 6, and then I think the 7th one came out, but there might be 8 and I might just be missing one. I kind of bought the ones on Amazon that were the cheapest, and there were like a couple that were still pretty high in price. I think the most recent one was. To be honest, the Wayward Children series sort of falls into that auto buy category that I was talking about earlier, where when they come out, I just sort of buy them because I like the covers, I like how they look on my shelf, and I really enjoyed all of the ones that I have read. I already owned the first 3. I don't know why I stopped buying them. I think it's because at my last house, I didn't really have proper bookshelves. A lot of my books actually had to be stored in drawers because I didn't have like really robust like shelf space. So I'm really excited to have these bookshelves. styles. Anyway, let's move on. I feel like I just had an aneurysm trying to explain all that. The next two books that I bought were Emily Henry's romance books that came out the last 2 years. People We Meet on Vacations is a friends to lovers romance, and Beach Read is sort of a rivals to lovers situation. And this one, we have two best friends that have been friends since college, and they always go on vacation together, and then they have a falling out. And so like a couple years after their falling out, they decide to go on vacation together again, and it kind of evolves into romance, and it kind of flashes between when they were younger and how their friendship started and all the trips they went on to the trip that they're on now. And I love this book, amazing, 5 out of 5 stars. And then Beach Read, like I said, is a rivals to lovers. We have these two authors. The male protagonist is a like literary fiction author, and then the female protagonist is a romance author. And so they don't really like read each other's genres a ton, because his genre is a little bit more quote unquote respectable in the book community, because it's like more like elevated and like academic. And so she challenges him to write a romance book, and then he challenges her to write literary fiction, and then they go on a bunch of like dates where they teach each other about how to write that genre. Again, 5 out of 5 stars. Love Emily Henry. Also, I have a thing about hardcover, so I bought these used on Pango Books because I wanted like the book of the month editions. Up next, we have Hench by Natalie Zena Walshots. This was on my favorites of last year. I absolutely love this book. This is a story about a girl who is a hench. We're basically living in a world where superheroes exist, and people just kind of have to live around the superheroes. It reminds me a lot of the show The Boys on Amazon Prime, if you've ever seen that. That's also based on a graphic novel. And so superheroes are not necessarily good people. They are looked at as being like everyone's saviors, but a lot of times they're running around fighting like villains, and they're like normal people are kind of getting in their path. So our main character, like I said, is a hench, meaning that she goes through like a temp agency, and whenever villains need someone like to do work for them, you can get hired through that agency. And so she typically does like clerical work for them, like database entry stuff. But one day she gets invited to go on site to one of like the villain's plans, and a superhero actually ends up injuring her, and she ends up having a disability after that, like a physical ailment. And so this is kind of like her villain origin story, and I really, really like this book. It's so good. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of The Boys, so if you like the show The Boys, I think you'd really like this. I would love, love, love for her to come up with a sequel for this. I did read in an interview that she's open to writing a sequel, but I don't think she has any plans to do that at this moment. But I really like this, and I feel like the ending was a little bit open-ended so that we could get more of this world. But yeah, highly recommend if you like superhero stuff, like if that's sort of your thing. I think the writing style is really fun, and it's really good. Next up, we have another favorite from last year, In My Dreams I Hold the Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is a thriller about a close-knit friend group from college where one of them gets murdered and they don't know who did it. There's one friend in the group that was suspected of doing it because they were dating at the time, but that never got solved, and he never got charged for the murder. And so it's been very open-ended for 10 years, and now they're having a college reunion, and someone is trying to get to the bottom of it. And so it's sort of like a closed circle like murder mystery. It has kind of polarizing reviews. Like a lot of people really like this, but there are quite a few people that also don't get the hype. I personally obviously am on the hype train. I really like this. I love how unlikable a lot of the characters are. The main character actually is just like really insufferable, but I like that about her. Like she's so interesting and complicated to read from. I loved the time jumps in this. It's sort of going between the college reunion, but then also when they were in college and how they all became friends. And I love that the memories are given to us out of order. But I really like this. Highly recommend. Again, 5 out of 5 stars. This next one is actually one that I did not purchase. I was sent this for review by the publisher. I normally ignore review requests, but this one kind of caught my eye because it is a younger YA, like middle grade graphic novel, and I thought the art style looked really good. And there actually is a character that's in a wheelchair, and I thought that was like interesting representation. It's called The Nightmare Brigade, and it's about these kids that have special equipment, and they're able to travel into people's dreams to help them stop having nightmares. And so in this particular story, they go into this one girl's dream, and it actually ends up going wrong, and so they're in danger of getting stuck inside the nightmare. And I just thought that was like a really cool kind of like sci-fi plot. It kind of reminds me of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And so yeah, I don't know, I really liked the art style too. Like I thought that it just seemed really cute and interesting. So I really look forward to reading this. I probably will read this soon because I feel like graphic novels are like really easy to get through. So really excited to have this. I don't really know how to start every book without saying this next book, the next book, the next one. I feel like it's very repetitive, but this next book is We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry. This, I actually regret not putting on my favorites of last year. I read this last, I believe, January because I did a video where I read booktubers' favorite books from the previous year. And this was Kayla from Books and Lala's favorite book of 2020. And so I did not have any expectations going into this book because the plot did not sound like something that I was going to enjoy, but I absolutely loved it. And again, I really regret not putting it on my favorites list. Sometimes when I read something at the beginning of the year, it really is in danger of not ending up on that favorites list because it's been so long since I read it that I don't feel as passionate about it. So very sad that I didn't put it on that list, but now I can kind of hype it up. But this story takes place in the 80s, and it is about a group of girls on a high school field hockey team in Danvers, Massachusetts, which is where the Salem witch trials happened. They basically make a deal with the devil so that their team can win like the championship or whatever. And so it's all about their season after they make this deal with the devil. And it's so funny. It's kind of a comedy. I don't really know what else to say about the genre besides it's like sports fiction, historical fiction because it's in the 80s, and then it's also a comedy. It reminds me a lot, like if you were to like mash up the nostalgia of Stranger Things, like not the sci-fi or anything, but just the nostalgia with Scott Pilgrim versus the World, like the quirkiness of it. I feel like in the movie there's a lot of like weird characters and like weird words on the screen and stuff, and I feel like this book has that similar vibe because it's written in such a comical way, and there's a lot of inanimate objects that have perspectives. Like one of the girls kind of has the bang coif that was very popular in the 80s, and they call it the claw, and that has its own perspective. Like it actually thinks and says things, and it's kind of up to your interpretation of whether they can actually hear it or if it's more like meant for comedy in the narrative. I feel like I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this, but if you want to know more about this, go watch Kayla's 2020 favorites video because I feel like she does a much better job like explaining what's so great about this book. The next book is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This was another book that was on my favorites of last year. I actually literally used a book of the month credit so I can get this. Something that's fun about book of the month, this is not sponsored, but I am gonna hype them up for a second, is that you can get older books for your credit. I don't know why I didn't know that. Even when I would do sponsorships with them, I didn't realize that you could pick an older book if you didn't like the current selection. And so I really wanted No Exit in hardcover. Like I said, I've got a weird thing about hardcovers. And so I realized that book of the month had it in their backlog. And so I used a book of the month credit for this. Love that for me. This is about a girl named Darby who gets a sudden call that her mother is in the hospital. So she leaves her college campus and is driving through the night to try to get to her mother in the hospital. And unfortunately, because of the snowstorm, she gets stuck at a rest stop. And at the rest stop, she goes out to make a phone call and she finds a little girl in a van, and she doesn't know who the van belongs to, but it obviously belongs to someone who is inside the building. And so she has to figure out like who kidnapped this little girl, why did they kidnap this little girl, how is she gonna save her when, you know, they can't call the police, they can't get away because of the snow. And so it's a very like isolated thriller, and it's just so much fun. You do have to suspend your belief a little bit to read this because there's a lot of far-fetched things that happen. It's just like a roller coaster. I really found it to be like a really fun read. It's not the best literary masterpiece in the world, but it will get you out of a reading slump if you're in one, and you will not be able to stop reading this. Like I loved this so much, I read this in a very short amount of time. I guess this is my thriller section of the video because we also have They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is an academic setting. We have our main character, Scarlett. She is a professor at this college and she is a serial killer. Every year she picks someone that she thinks is deserving of being murdered. It's giving kind of like Dexter vibes where she only kills bad people. So she sort of takes it upon herself to dole out the justice, and she will kill men who don't get their like fair consequences for hurting women. And then there's also another perspective in the book where we have a girl who's starting her freshman year of college, and her timeline is more about her discovering how unfair women are treated. She has a friend that gets sexually assaulted and no one takes it seriously, and so she is trying her best to like make people take it seriously. And so there's like there's a whole stuff, and I loved this. There was lots of twists, lots of turns, and I love that the main character was so morally gray. Like we love a morally gray character, and also like fuck those guys, like yeah, murder them. Again, we are in our thriller moment in this haul. We have two books by Karen Slaughter, Pretty Girls and The Good Daughter. This is the first book I ever read by Karen Slaughter, and this is the second, and I love these books so much. I always think about these books. These are probably two of my favorite thrillers of all time, especially Pretty Girls. Like this one is masterpiece. I do wish they were the same height, but they're not. I did have to buy these used. I think I bought them used on Amazon so that I could get the hardcover. I'm sorry, I just don't want paperbacks. Also because, you know, here's the thing. I would be okay with paperbacks if they kept the same covers, because with Pretty Girls, I'm pretty sure that the paperback has a different cover, and I like this cover, and same with The Good Daughter. So I just like, I know what I want in this world. One thing I don't love about The Good Daughter is that the edges are deckled. I'm not really into deckled edges. I feel like you can't see it in this lighting. These thrillers are phenomenal, but also really fucked up. Karen Slaughter, there's something wrong with that woman, but I love it. I love it. She's fucked up, she's dark, and she's gonna write that way. So if you don't like dark things, if you don't like violence against women, I really, really don't recommend these. She writes a lot about like bad things happening to the girlies. The Good Daughter is about these sisters who, when they are younger, they have this whole thing happen to them where they basically almost died because this man like infiltrates their house and they get attacked, and one of the sisters ends up being blind, and it like blows apart their family because the mom gets murdered. She gets like shot in the head. It's like a really graphic scene, if we're being completely honest. But then we fast forward many years and we sort of find out more about what happened, and there's also a school shooting in this, so it's kind of like working between the school shooting and what's happening there, but also like what's happened to the relationship in this family since their mother was murdered and since one of them was injured. And then Pretty Girls, like I said, this is the first Karen Slaughter I ever read, and this is one of the most graphic and dark books that I've ever been privy to. It is also about sisters. Something we love about Karen Slaughter is she loves writing well-rounded characters, which isn't always very common in thrillers. Like even in like No Exit, Darby honestly is not a very like fleshed out character. Like you don't really know a lot about her. Honestly, in the Hulu adaptation, they gave her way more of a backstory than she has in the book. But Miss Karen Slaughter, you will not catch her slacking on character development. Like these books kind of stand apart, and that they are really like kind of exciting and dark thrillers and twisty and all that, but also that the characters are like have like full backstories and life, and like you just feel like they could be real people. So in this book we have two sisters. I actually remember their names. There's Claire and Lydia. I'm telling you, this book like really stuck with me. I remember the most about this one. They are kind of estranged because Claire married this really rich guy, and they kind of had a falling out over him. Like Lydia never liked him. So fast forward to now, Claire and her husband go out to dinner, and when they're leaving dinner, her husband gets mugged in the alley and he ends up being murdered, like stabbed. And so Claire is just like torn up. She doesn't know what to do because she's basically spent her life being a trophy wife, and she doesn't really like have a career. She doesn't really have like a lot of friends. Her husband was her whole life, and so she doesn't really know what to do. And so this is when her and her sister kind of come back together. Something interesting about their story is that in the 80s, like when they were younger, their older sister, who was off at college, ended up getting abducted, and they never found her, and it's suspected that she was murdered. They just never found her body. They don't know what happened to her. And so that's also kind of a rift that's in their family. And I will say this has some of the most graphic writing I've ever read. Like there is one scene where they describe a dead body, and it actually will never leave my mind. It is burned into my brain, burned into my retinas. It is burned into everything here. And again, highly, highly, highly want to give a trigger warning for violence against women, because if that's not your thing in thrillers, which I totally respect, do not read Miss Slaughter. These next three books are actually ones that I already talked about in my bookstore vlog. If you haven't seen that, I would recommend you go watch that, because I do haul those in here. But we have The Host by Stephanie Meyer. We have a book by Fabio. Very fun. I think I might do a reading vlog for this, because who knew that Fabio wrote books? And then we also have the Veronica Mars book. I think there's two Veronica Mars novels, and so I have one of them because it was on sale at Half Price Books. But if you want to hear more about these or see me like picking them up and getting them at Half Price Books and some other bookstores, then I will link that video and you can watch my little bookstore vlog, because it was a very cute little video and you should watch it if you missed it. So the next few things you will see are a result of me not being able to casually like things. If I suddenly decide I'm into something, I will buy a lot of it. Like for example, all this book buying. I love books, so I decided I wanted a book collection, so I bought over 30 books. I don't know if there are normal people who do that, but I'm just someone who thinks that treat yourself is every day. So I bought this box set of Jane Austen's books. I did a vlog where I read all of Jane Austen's books and then I ranked them.
That video will be posted this Sunday, March 27th.
Because I thought that would be like a little fun thing to do, because I am in my classics era. I'm a classics girly all of a sudden. Like, it's a thing. This box set is from Penguin. I think it's like called their like cloth bound vintage classics or something like that. Look up some of those words and you might find this style. But they do a lot of classics with these types of covers, and it comes in this beautiful box. I got it on Amazon. It was like $90, not gonna lie, but it's 7 really chunky books, so I think that is a deal. Maybe I'm lying to myself, but it's fine. Also, I will go ahead and show you all the covers. Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, Love and Friendship, Persuasion, Northanger Abbey, and Mansfield Park. These covers are honestly just so beautiful, and I'm so happy I have them. And like when they're on my shelf, they're just amazing. I am gonna keep this box, and I don't even know what I'm gonna store in it, but it's just such a beautiful box, and it's like kind of hard, so we love that for us. And our last collection of books that I need to show you is again proof of me not being able to like things casually, and we have Anne of Green Gables. I read this first Anne of Green Gables book in January because I did another video where I read booktubers favorites, and this was Ariel Bassett's favorite book. Got a little carried away, and I love Anne so much. I've already read 4 of the books in the series. After I read the first Anne of Green Gables book, I rushed out to get this Puffin and Bloom collection version of the book. I love it so much. I love the end papers, and I love the gold on the cover. It's so fantastic. It's so beautiful. We stand. I honestly wish that they had made all 8 books of the series in this style, because I literally would have dropped all my coin on it, but alas, they did not. So I did a lot of research on all the box sets that exist for Anne of Green Gables, and one that is no longer in print, like they don't really sell new versions of it anymore, is this one from Tundra Books, and it makes a little picture on the spines of the book. The covers are fantastic. Like I love the art style on them. But we have the first one, Anne of Green Gables, love the art on that. Anne of Avonlea, Anne of the Island, Anne of Windy Poplars, Anne's House of Dreams, Anne of Ingleside, Rainbow Valley, and then Rilla of Ingleside. I don't know if I will keep the box for this box set because it's not quite as nice as the Jane Austen one. It's more like flimsy cardboard, and it's not very substantial. I have been thinking that maybe I might cut out this thing and put it in my bullet journal. That might be a nice way to commemorate like hauling this box set, but this was also $100. I just loved the artwork on this. You can still get a lot of these books on Book Depository if you want these versions, or you can find them used. But the one book, Anne of Windy Poplars, which is the one I read most recently, this one is not readily available. Like I think like it was like $30 on ebooks, and so I just realized that buying them individually wasn't the most economic, and a seller was selling this in the shrink wrap, brand new. Love that for us, and so I bought it, and I was so excited. I'm so happy. Thank you so much to Ariel for getting me to read Anne of Green Gables, which honestly kickstarted me into this classics era, because now I've read all these Jane Austen books, and I've read all these Anne of Green Gables books, and I have plans to read more classics. So if you have any classics you want me to read, please let me know down below, and I might vlog more classic moments for us. This next book is actually very special for me to haul and talk about. I did not get this for myself. This was actually a gift from my boyfriend. If you saw my mid-year freakout that I did last year, I talked about how I really regretted that I forgot to get a copy of Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare in the Waterstone special edition style. I have all of the Dark Artifices and then the first one of The Last Hours, and I had for some reason just like totally spaced that I needed to order this because they're always limited edition, and so I was really depressed about it. And my boyfriend watched that video and he wrote it down in his notes app as an idea for getting me a gift. And so for my birthday this year, he gave this to me. I honestly wish he had filmed giving it to me because I actually burst into tears immediately. Like I was so touched that he got this for me. Like it was so thoughtful as a gift. Like I cannot even describe how special it was to me that he watched my video and then was like, I'm gonna find a copy of this. And I don't know how he did it. It was literally witchcraft. He said he found this copy for $50. Like where? How? Literally, like if you go on like Depop, these go for a ton of money because they are so limited edition. Like I'm shocked. Also, I don't know if you can see, but I did make a mistake. I had a jar of like oil, like it was like one of those like exfoliating oils for your hands. I had gotten it from my nail salon for Christmas. They just gave it to like their clients that came in a lot, and so I accidentally placed it on the top of this book, not thinking about it because it kind of looks like a candle, and I kind of forgot what it was, and I placed it on top. That brings us to the end of this haul. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Again, I don't normally post hauls, so I felt like this was a little bit different and a little bit fun for me to do. We had a bookstore vlog, and now we have this. Like, who is she? She buys books.